All right, guys, welcome back into the channel. I hope everyone had a wonderful Super Bowl weekend. I think we can all say we didn't expect that game to go the way it did. Just a shocking Super Bowl overall. But now it's officially the offseason for every single team. We've already started this. Let's do another mock draft for the Green Bay Packers. This will be the second one we've done on this channel. Last week, we did a 3-round mock draft to get things going. This week, we'll ramp it up a tiny bit, and we'll do a 5-round mock draft for the Green Bay Packers. If this sort of video does interest you, we're going to be doing mock drafts every single week on this channel. So go down and click that subscribe button to stay in the loop with everything Green Bay Packers, or if you simply just like Green Bay Packers draft content and mock drafts. We will also be adding a new series where I mock your guys' mock drafts. I have a Discord, a custom Packers Discord. You guys should join it anyway. It'll be down in the description below, but I made a separate channel for mock drafts where you guys can go post your mock drafts for this current week or any week for that matter, and I'll pick a few of them, implement them into a video, and kind of go over your mock draft. So if you want to get included in on that, simply go join the Discord. It's absolutely free to do. Plus, there's a bunch of other Packers fans in there if you simply just like to talk Packers ball with other fans. All right, so let's get into this Green Bay Packers 5-round mock draft. But quickly, before we do so, I want to let you guys know about today's video sponsor, Mando. Mando is a whole body deodorant that's clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. Recently, I've been using Mando's whole body spray deodorant in the bourbon leather scent, and I use this every single day, and I really love the spray deodorant that they have, and there's tons of different scents you can get. It's really easy to just spray and go. And like I said, it's a whole body deodorant, so it's safe to use anywhere on your body. All products are also baking soda free and paraben free. Choose from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, clover woods, Mount Fuji, or Pro Sport. And like you saw, there's multiple deodorant product options such as the solid stick deodorant and the spray deodorant I showed you earlier. Also, Mando's very easy to find. They're in stores such as Walmart and Target. Guys, if you want to try out Mando, the starter pack is perfect for you. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, a cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice, such as mini body wash and deodorant wipes. To top that all off, it includes free shipping. And of course, I have a special offer for you guys. Head to shopmando.com and use code PACK, P-A-C-K, to get $5 off your first starter pack with that exclusive code. That's P-A-C-K at shopmando.com. That'll get you $5 off your first starter pack, which equates up to 40% off your first order. And of course, like I said, that includes free shipping. That's code PACK, P-A-C-K, at shopmando.com. Trying out ShopMando supports the channel a ton, guys, so tell them I sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence with Mando. All right, so now back into the video. Let's dive right down into this mock draft. Let's bring up the screen. Of course, we're on the PFF mock draft simulator. We're doing a 5-round mock draft. You can see all the advanced settings on the right, and the Packers still pick at pick 23. Now, although I've only done one mock draft, I'm starting to really dive down into more of these players, get to know the mid-round players, even late-round players, and of course, all the players available in the first round. The Packers' needs remain the same. We still have a need at cornerback and at defensive line as a whole. Whether you consider interior defensive line or edge more of a need, I think the Packers just need to add bodies down low. And I'll say this, the defensive line class this year has an enormous amount of talent. You can get guys in the second and third round that maybe would go in the first round in other years. I just recently saw a tweet from Daniel Jeremiah, and he had 12 similarly ranked defensive linemen, like which players he would consider being starters. He's 24 of them this year, so exactly double. So the needs remain the same for the Green Bay Packers is my point, and this draft is pretty heavy in talent at positions of need for the Packers. So we're not going to do trades in this one, of course. Further down the line, once we really get into the 7-round mock drafts, then we'll implement trades, maybe some player trades as well to kind of see how those mock drafts would go. Say if the Packers went out and traded for a star player, how that would affect a mock draft, right? We'll do that later down the line. Of course, go down, click subscribe so you won't miss any of the new mock drafts that come out weekly. So let's get through the picks until pick 23 and go over them. All right, so quickly going over the picks that occurred up until our pick. Cam Ward at 1, Travis Hunter at 2 to the Browns, Shadur Sanders to the Giants, Abdul Carter to the Pats, Will Johnson to the Jags, Mason Graham to the Raiders, Tet McMillan to the Jets, Malachi Starks to the Panthers, Mike Green to the Saints, Luther Burden to the Bears. If the Bears go another wide receiver top 10, man, I mean, just burn it to the ground. They need O-line, right? Will Campbell to the Niners, Kelvin Banks to the Cowboys, James Pierce to the Dolphins, Josh Simmons to the Colts, Walter Nolan to the Falcons, Benjamin Morrison to the Cardinals, Michael Williams to the Bengals, Ashton Genty to the Seahawks. I think that happened in our last mock draft. It's like, what are we doing here? Gray Zabel continues to fly up boards to the Bucks, Omarion Hampton to the Broncos, Egbuka to the Steelers, Matthew Golden to the Chargers. So we are on the clock and some players available. Tyler Warren available. Again, I think he was available last time we picked a 23. I would be shocked if the Packers went tight end in round 1. As much as that would be wild to pair up Tucker Kraft with Tyler Warren, I just think there's other needs here. Shamar Stewart's an option at edge, Membu at tackle. We also have Jack Sawyer, Kenneth Grant, Nick Scouton, Tyleek Williams. We have Jahdae Barron, who we drafted at 23 in the last mock draft, among other cornerbacks available, such as Trey Amos, Siobhan Ravel. Ton of different options here at 23, but who I have my eyes on is Kenneth Grant for this mock draft. A lot of people love this guy out of Michigan, and like I said earlier in this mock draft before we started, the defensive lineman talent is so immense, right? So if you're getting Kenneth Grant here at 23, this is a guy that could very possibly go around 12 in last year's draft. That's how good this defensive lineman talent is in this draft. I mean, you see just in this draft, you have Mason Graham going 6. He's kind of the number 1 guy right now and probably will remain that. And then there's a couple guys such as Walter Nolan, who goes 15 here, but he could also be the one that falls to 23, and Kenneth Grant goes before the Packers. But if the Packers can end up with one of Kenneth Grant or Walter Nolan, man, this will help out their defensive line so much. And Kenneth Grant is so exciting to watch. And I feel like this guy has sky-high potential and hasn't even scratched the surface of his potential yet. When you watch certain games, his hand placement, he can be a game wrecker. He can be a 3-down defensive lineman, and I think he fits perfectly into a 4-3 scheme to shoot gaps on early downs, but also, rush the passer on later downs. 6'3", 339, still 21 years old. We know the Packers love to draft younger players in the first round. And man, Kenneth Grant, adding him to this defensive front, I think would help the Packers so much get home with just 4 players. We saw it in the Super Bowl. The Philadelphia Eagles didn't blitz Patrick Mahomes once. They sent 4 every single time and got home, 6 times, right? So if you bolster your front 4 and say, go and sign a free agent edge and draft Kenneth Grant in the first round, that's how you transform your front 4 to really start to get after the quarterback with just sending 4. Then you can drop 7 in coverage. And look what happened in the Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes. Kenneth Grant had 3 sacks last year, pass rush grade 75.3, run defense grade 87.5. So if the Packers are losing TJ Slayton, it doesn't matter as much if you go and add in Kenneth Grant, right? Kenny Clark had a really big down year in 2024. I think Kenneth Grant eventually would replace Kenny Clark. And then we see the rise of Devontae Wyatt and guys like Carl Brooks, right? You add Kenneth Grant in this room, and man, this defensive line can become very dangerous very quick. A pass rush win rate of 9.4%, run stop rate 7.9%. He has a great ability to shed blocks while remaining gap control, but also the potential as a pass rusher, as a bigger defensive lineman is sky high. I think he's all around a very solid defensive lineman. And like I said, he's a guy that would turn into a 3-down defensive lineman, and he could become that as early as year 1. I think he's also pretty pro ready, but again, the sky's the limit here. I don't think he's even scratched the surface. So with this first pick at pick 23, we are going defensive lineman Kenneth Grant out of Michigan in this mock draft. Here we are on the clock at pick 55 in the second round. And if you watched my first mock draft, I told you if we were sitting here at 55 and Jaden Higgins was available, that would be my pick. Also in the last mock draft, we went cornerback round 1 and we went Derek Harmon in round 2. Now, there's other options here, right? Like Jaden Higgins is a guy I really like. He wreaked havoc at the Senior Bowl, was easily the number 1 wide receiver, 6'4", 215, a guy that can beat man coverage. We've been, pretty much pounding the table and saying we need a guy that can beat man coverage. But you also have a need at cornerback, and someone like Azariah Thomas, who I talked about in last mock draft, was flying up boards. And honestly, I think could go before here at pick 55. So if you don't go corner here, you really, you have to think about where you'll go corner. Will you do it in the 3rd round, the 4th round, right? I'm under the impression that Jair will stay a Green Bay Packer. And if he doesn't, I think they're going to go out and sign a free agent like a DJ Reed, like a Byron Murphy Jr., to where the Packers maybe don't have to draft a cornerback in the first or second round. They still very, very well could. Like, they definitely could. And I could see the Packers, drafting one in the first or the second round, if that's, Azariah Thomas or something like that. But I think they do need a receiver. And I feel like the Packers could go sign a free agent corner. I think that the odds are that that happens more than a free agent wide receiver, considering the options available, or even go trade for someone, right? So Jaden Higgins is talent that I simply cannot pass up here in this mock. A 90.3 overall grade last year, 1,100 yards, nearly 1,000 yards the year before that. Receiving grade 90.5, right? Yards per route run, 2.66. Contested catch rate, 58.3. Drop rate, extremely low, 2.2%. Grade versus man coverage, and this is where you got to circle it, man. 88.2 grade versus man coverage. He had 9 touchdowns last season, 6 touchdowns the year before that, 10 touchdowns the year before that. 6'4", 215, man. That prototypical X wide receiver you throw out there in the red zone, and you give Jordan Love that big body target that can consistently beat man coverage. And I really do think he's one of the best wide receivers in this class. And again, I would be so ecstatic if the Packers were able to snag him here at pick 55. I think if they want Jaden Higgins and they don't draft him in the first round, they're going to have to trade up into the second, kind of similarly to what they did with Christian Watson, to go get this guy, which I would also be okay with. But obviously this is a mock draft. We don't trade, and it's a mock draft, and it's so early, and he's available here at 55. So we're going Jaden Higgins, wide receiver from Iowa State, here at pick 55. So we're on the board at 87. And what's crazy about this in this mock, Azariah Thomas only went at 83. So if I was doing trades and I even saw him available at the 70s, I would have traded up. 100% would have traded up and went and got, Azariah Thomas, another guy that just did super, super well at the Senior Bowl. He's flying up boards. Like I said, I could see him going top of the second, no problem. So we definitely have the thought of wanting to go corner here. We could go edge. We could go offensive lineman. There's a lot available here at 87. Yeah, so right now I'm pretty locked in on selecting a cornerback here at 87, and honestly, there's a ton of options here at 87. We have 2 cornerbacks from Kansas, Mello Dotson and Kobe Bryant. I think Mello Dotson fits the Packers mold a little bit more. Not often do they draft lighter cornerbacks than 190. Mello 6'1", 190, whereas Kobe here is 6'1", 175, very light, and the Packers tend to shy away from light cornerbacks. But then there's a couple other guys that I also really like that I wouldn't be mad at all getting in the third round. There's Noel Williams out of Cal and Zy Alexander out of LSU, right? You could replace one Alexander with another. You also have Noel Williams, who had 7 interceptions in 2024, guys. I mean, this guy was an absolute ball hawk, only allowed a 40.9 passer rating, an outside cornerback there. But you have Mello Dotson, who had 5 interceptions in 2024, allowed a quarterback rating of 69.1, an outside cornerback, right? We talked about Kobe Bryant. I don't see the fit necessarily. Great against the run, though, 91.3. I wouldn't be mad if the Packers drafted him. I just don't see the fit, and I don't see them doing so. Then you have Zy Alexander. Less snaps than the other 2 guys due to, less games played, but an outside cornerback. The Packers need to draft an outside guy. I think they are completely content with the future at Javon Bullard playing nickel. They also have Keyshawn if you need to bump him inside on later passing downs and whatnot. So I'm really torn here because there's 3 great options that I see as fits for the Packers: Mello Dotson, Noel Williams, and Zy Alexander here. So for this mock draft, I think I've settled in on one of these cornerbacks, and I think it's going to be Noel Williams from California. Just really feels like a Packers pick in the 3rd round at 87. Maybe a guy that's a little lower on some people's boards, but I'm very high on him. I think he fits the scheme very well. If the Packers want to run some more cover 2, right, as a press, low type of cornerback, a physical guy, but also can tackle, right? He only has 3 missed tackles in 2024, where someone like Mello Dotson has 13 missed tackles. We love our cornerbacks that can go up and tackle. So I think Noel Williams is an excellent pick here. And I mean, an absolute ball hawk. He had 12 interceptions over the last three seasons, including 7 of them in this last season. 40.9 quarterback rating allowed last year, a completion percentage of 48.5, good against the run, good in man coverage, good in zone coverage. He had 10 forced incompletions, all outside cornerback his entire career. Not only that, he has special teams contribution early on. He can be a punt return. He punt returned for Cal. And I think we kind of need to find that guy right now. I think we can all agree we don't want Jaden Reed back there. Nixon seems like he just wants to play cornerback at this point. Noah Williams fits the bill for the Packers, 6'1", 200 pounds, a future starter at cornerback in my opinion, but doesn't really have to right away. Be a nice solid depth rotational guy at outside corner. So at 87, we're going Noah Williams, cornerback from California. Here at pick 123, I think it's time we add an edge rusher into this mock draft here. We're at 123. There's a ton of options such as Baron Sorrell, but my eyes are on Ahmed Hassanin, and I hope I'm saying that correct. I know he's an Egypt native, just starting to scratch the surface of his potential playing football, and I think his best football is ahead of him. 6'3", 271, 10 sacks last season, 14 sacks in 2023. And yes, it's against lesser competition, but he has some good tape against good teams as well. Run defense grade 80.3, pass rush win rate 16.1%. Run stop rate 6.3%. I think he fits a 4-3 scheme, hand in the dirt, go after the quarterback, go get the quarterback. I think this is a guy that fits the Packers scheme. And early on, the Packers obviously want to have a rotation there at edge. I think that's perfect year one outlook for Hassanin here, just to go into a team, have a rotation, third down comes up, passing down show up, and you want this guy to get out there and go get the quarterback, which he clearly has done the last 2 years with 24 total sacks. Again, I think he hasn't even reached his full potential yet, and his best football is ahead of him, and he's already played some damn good football over the last couple of years at Boise State, and I think the potential here at 123 is sky high. So at pick 123, we are going Ahmed Hassanin, edge out of Boise State, here at 123. For our final pick in this 5-round mock draft for the Green Bay Packers, we're at pick 160 in the 5th round, and I think I'm going to go center here in what I think would be an absolute steal in the 5th round, and that's going to be Jake Majors out of Texas. I see this guy going higher than the 5th round at 160. Again, we're so early in the draft process. Things still need to take shape, but I believe, honestly, that he's the best center in this draft class. So if you're getting the best center in this draft class at 160, I think that's a massive steal. I think he fits really well into a zone blocking scheme team like the Green Bay Packers at the NFL level. And you see how many snaps he's played over the last 3 seasons. Has been starting at center for a long time with Texas here. 1,000 snaps in 2024, 900 in 2023, and 860 in 2022, and has only allowed 1 sack through the last 3 seasons. 13 hurries this year, 6 hurries in 2023, 8 hurries in 2022. Run block grade 68.2, very good pass block grade 85.4. I think Jake Majors honestly fits the Packers really well to maybe also transition from Josh Myers. And I think this is a guy that is pro ready. Like, you could go into 2025 drafting Jake Majors in the 5th round, and this guy could very well start for you year one as a rookie. You go through training camp, you're like, wow, this is our best option at center. And he's going to have competition there, right? With Jacob Monk or even Elton Jenkins, depending how they want to move that O-line around. But if they move on from Josh Myers, or even if they don't, if they give Josh Myers a 1-year, 2-year deal, go and get Jake Majors in the 5th round if he's available, right? 6'3", 315, played for a high tier program, obviously, there at Texas. And I really like the pick here. 160, we're going Jake Majors, center out of Texas. All right, so now let's go over all our picks for this 5-round mock draft for the Green Bay Packers. Just our second ever mock draft for this 2025 offseason. I'm not going to lie, guys. I really, really like this one. I know it's so early, so I'm excited to kind of look back at these as we get closer and closer to the draft. But man, pick 1, we go Kenneth Grant at 23, defensive lineman out of Michigan, sky high potential. I think a lot of these guys on this list, they have a ton, and I mean a ton of potential, and that starts with Kenneth Grant. The Packers need to add more talent into this defensive line room if they're going to consistently want to get home with only bringing 4. And I think that's kind of the next new age of defense in the NFL. Bring 4, drop 7, get home with your 4, and then reap the rewards, just like the Eagles did against the Chiefs. And I think you start off to do that by adding guys like Kenneth Grant, who can be a future 3-down defensive lineman. In early downs, play gaps really well, and later downs, get after the quarterback. So Kenneth Grant, pick 1. Jaden Higgins, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you guys know who this guy is due to the Senior Bowl, due to how much success he had at the Senior Bowl. Not only that, last couple of years in college at Iowa State. 6'4" receiver, can beat man coverage. The Packers need that. And I think if he's there at 55, you run the card up. Noah Williams is a guy that just feels very Packers-ish to me. Physical outside corner, cover 2 type of corner, can come up, make a tackle, had 7 interceptions last year, a ball hawk, a guy that can also punt return. So I went Noel Williams at 87. Ahmed Hassanin, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If anyone, a Boise fan, let me know in the comments. But I think he had 24 sacks over the last 2 seasons. An Egypt native, a guy that hasn't even scratched the surface of his potential. And I like making a pick like that in the 4th round. A guy that, just has so much potential. And maybe you got to develop him a bit. I know that's fine, but it's a 4th round pick as well. Plus, we're getting a new D-line coach in Covington. And I feel like you got to give him some projects and some guys that he can kind of mold and build up their potential and their skill set. And I think Hassanin's a perfect candidate for that. Jake Majors in the 5th round. Again, I think he's one of the best, if not the best centers in this draft class, a guy that, right away could start for you. And if we move on from Josh Myers, we're going to need someone that can start at center. Didn't look too pretty with Sean Ryan filling in there. Didn't look too pretty with Elton Jenkins fitting in there. The Packers kept Jacob Monk inactive like all year. So where do we go? Do we go free agency? Do we go draft? If we go draft, I think Jake Majors is your guy. And that's why I went with him here at 160. So that's the 5-round mock draft for the Green Bay Packers. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I really like this one. I think it hits a lot of needs for the Packers. We got a defensive lineman. We got an edge. So we get 2 defensive linemen there. We got a receiver, a guy that can beat man coverage, tall, physical, X-style receiver. We got a cornerback that is physical, can play outside, ball hawk, can punt return. And we got a potential starting center or interior offensive lineman. I really like this mock draft. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And of course, list in the comments some other prospects that I may have went over or overlooked here in this mock. But I do appreciate you guys coming by to the channel. Again, go down, click subscribe if you do enjoy this sort of thing. Hit the like button. It supports the channel a ton, helps out with the whole YouTube algorithm. I'll catch you on the next one. And as always, go Pack Go.